What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with Leverage Media, and welcome to another episode of Path to a Million podcast. I'm here with one of my good buddies, the first two-time guest on the Path to a Million podcast,
Whoa.
Dr. Fred DiDomenico. What an honor.
I got to hold up my old belt and my new belt.
So, Fred, we had you on maybe about a month ago when we were in Denver together at your boot camp for the elite coaching program. And part of what you are starting to do now is you're starting to bring into elite this system that we'll talk about here in a second from the book that you wrote, You Are More Powerful Than You Think. And we didn't really have a ton of time to go into much else other than just like the elite coaching system and what you thought people at each stage of the path to a million should be doing. So I told you I wanted to bring you back on to talk more about You Are More Powerful and the HEALED system. So, Fred, just to give people who might not know who you are, give them a little bit of background on what you do.
Shoot, man. Hey, I was joking around because we just did a podcast for you. My first memory was coming out of darkness and the light, right?
Right.
But just a quick story that's significant because especially knowing a chiropractor, universal intelligence and innate intelligence. We are innate intelligence, but what innate means it's inborn, right? So universal intelligence is moving through us. When you're a chiropractic, we didn't pick chiropractic. Chiropractic picked us. We picked it before we came here. We go through our life experiences, knowing that we're here for a message to change humanity, and everything in our life leads us to that, right? So I remember, I grew up in an immigrant Italian home, and I was back east playing in the front yard. I remember seeing my grandfather in his skinny white tee with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, sitting on the porch on a summer day with my grandmother yelling through the window in Italian. And I remember thinking, he was in his 70s. I remember thinking, I wonder what's going through his mind, other than probably would she just be quiet. Right. I'm thinking, I wonder how he looks at his life. And I was probably about 7. And I thought, when I'm sitting in that chair, I want the world to be different. But obviously we have no idea. I remember that like it was yesterday, like innately we know, and all you chiropractors know this, you're here to make a difference. And then obviously, I went through chiropractic and you probably get this too, Nick, where people say, man, you're so lucky, you know what your life purpose is. And I would feel sorry for them in a way, but then I would think, well, as long as you don't know what yours is, how about if you just do mine, and then let's go out and give the message to chiropractic. Like, that's how I looked at, like, since you don't have one, then I'll give you one because this can change humanity. And you end up building a big practice.
Yeah.
And then after I started,
I feel like you should wear more white guinea tees. I've never seen that.
Yeah, right. I don't look as good as my grandfather with a bunch of hair sticking out of the top and eyebrows that look like it could house small mammals. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, then after I started coaching, my second wife got sick with cancer, and about 3 weeks before she died, she was sitting in the bathtub, and she said, crying, I didn't know if I did what I was supposed to do in this life. And I can't tell you the feeling that I had inside. One was to say it was grief would be, or empathy would be, 1/1000th of what I felt. And then the next feeling was gratitude that I'm doing it. And the next thing I said in my head that was almost aloud was, I don't want anybody in my life to ever say that again. So I began on a path to really find out who God created me to be. And 5 years later, the system HEALED in this book just fell in my lap. HEALED is a 6-step system. And if you follow these steps, because, we all seek a higher consciousness. So, you read all these authors, Deepak Chopra, Neil Donald Walsh, Marianne Williamson, Betty Eadie, Paul Ferrini, all these spiritual authors, but it's like pieces of a puzzle. Eckhart Tolle, and we get this information, but we don't know how to apply it. And one of my gifts is I can look at things and I can see patterns. In elite, I see patterns in human behavior, 21 years studying human behavior. So we know how to get people to live a chiropractic lifestyle. There's the same thing in spirituality and spiritual principles. And so I didn't create this. It was given to me in a flash. that the acronym HEALED and what it meant. And it starts with honor God within yourself, meaning we're spirit, we're divinity first, having a human experience. So we have our divinity and our humanity. But when we reference our divinity, our innate intelligence, we tap into a power that's bigger than our mind. It's bigger than our physical body, right? It's the whole universe. Then once we get that, then it's exercise loving yourself and others. So once you understand that you're divine first, then you can actually have a great, not only relationship with yourself, but you can begin, you don't have self-worth issues anymore. You are in a consciousness that's above. There is no worthy or unworthy. You're above that, right? You're innately loving, and then you can begin to express that to other people, right? 2 greatest commandments. 1, love God. Number 2, love your neighbor as yourself, which means you have to love yourself first, and then you love your neighbor, and that's really why we're here. Then A is once you do that, now here's the amazing part.
Hold on, I might have skipped. H was, say H again.
Honor God within yourself.
And then E?
Exercise loving yourself and others.
Got it, okay, I just missed the E.
Now here's the funny part. You know, the chapter begins, E begins with, hey, if I was to ask you if you love yourself, what would you say? And I'd say, yeah, I think I'm the greatest guy ever, right? The next sentence that came out of that I wrote, I didn't write, but it said, if I asked you if you loved yourself like God loves you, what would you say? And I wrote that, and then I read it, and I went, I have no idea. And that one chapter took me a year to write because I had to live it. Wow. Once I did that, then you can look at your past differently, and you can learn to let go of your past, see how it's every event is part of your soul purpose. Mm-hmm. And either the school, the tool, the skill, or the faith that it gave you. Hey, once it took me a year to love myself, immersed in it, then forgiveness was only 4 months. Yeah. So that means, wow, how do you see your past? Is everything in your past that you perceive as pain in your humanity is now a gift moving towards your soul purpose? You know, my greatest pain was watching my wife take her last breath. The greatest gift is I'll end up changing the lives of millions of people around the world with HEALED. So, you know, everything has an event. Then L is coming into presence, living in now, how to get your past and future, you know, how to live with joy and presence. Then once you quiet all the emotional noise, then the second E, establish your purpose and mission. That's when you can hear the whispers of God. You can hear your innate. You see it a different conscious. And then D is deliver it to the world. So it starts with understanding we're divine first, works all the way through clearing all your shit out, basically, until you are finding and living your soul purpose, which is a far more fulfilling life and why you're here in this life.
That's great. So and what do you think? That's a lot. You always like, I always am like trying to like hold on for dear life as you're like running through this stuff. So tell me a little bit about, like, as a chiropractor who maybe is stuck or struggling, or, you know, maybe they're doing well, but they know they could be taking it to another level. How is it that You Are More Powerful Than You Think, the book, and the HEALED system, how is it that can help them in practice, you know, on their path to $1 million practice?
Well, we also have 𝗍𝗵𝗆𝗋.com, which are videos and PDFs and affirmations and all that. So it's an online coaching system. But how can that help? Well, the first thing is, you know, you're not in chiropractic for a job. You came into this life to do it. You know what I mean? And I say on our coaching calls as well, there's only one problem you ever have in your life. You only ever have one problem, and that's your level of consciousness. So now I say the problem why people don't grow, and this is where I discovered coaching, is I could give people systems because I had 4 high volume practices, but excuse me, they can't do it if they don't have the consciousness to understand it, implement it, the conviction, and the purpose. Yeah. So that's when I started bringing in spirituality into it. And what I always say is the reason you're not at your vision is because your consciousness, your mindset, and your systems don't match. When your consciousness matches the level of your vision and everything in your life matches that, then your vision becomes a vacuum. You don't have to push to get it. You get pulled right into it. And so how does HEALED help? Well, get your consciousness to the level of your vision. Let go of your past. And one of the things I found coaching was chiropractors are people too. Like I went to DE, man. I was listening to 𝗵𝘃𝗿𝗄𝗍, 2,000 a week, and all these guys, 1,500 a week, 1,000 a week. Like people didn't get on that stage under 1,000 a week.
Yeah.
You know, Rob Schiffman, 4,000 a week, right? Fred DiDomenico, 500 a day. And so you're listening. That is a different level of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And so I attribute, what I didn't practice, which was, hey, 𝗄𝗵𝗶𝗿𝗁, 700 a day. I did 700 a week. So 700 a week, I know at each level of practice was a different consciousness, a different system. You had to create a different type of patient. You have at 150 a week versus 350 a week. Those are different types of patients.
Right.
150 a week, they're talking about symptoms all day long. 300 a week, 500 a week, they don't care about their symptoms. They're there because of lifestyle and healthy and belief system and energy, right? Yeah. So if your consciousness isn't there, how can you possibly create a type of patient and a practice with systems that are going to get you your vision? And that's why you go up and then back and up and back, and you're practicing on a roller coaster, and then eventually you give up. And so what chiropractors do is they change their beliefs according to the results. Meaning like, well, I stopped asking the spouse to come to the ROF because I could never get him there. As opposed to what I did was say, I'm not going to change my beliefs. I'm going to change what I do.
Right.
Until I get the result. But my belief system never changed, meaning that spouse needs to be there. So what do I have to change to make sure they get there minimally 8 out of 10 times, right?
Yeah.
So what I had to do, I found I couldn't get that in chiropractic, and that's your other podcast we did. That's why I started studying human behavior, started getting into self-empowerment and learning how to change people's minds. Yeah. So their mindset could match my mindset. Mm-hmm. Right? Because, and Tony Robbins says, the power of your life is based on the power of the questions you ask yourself. And one day I said, how do I get all my patients to look at chiropractic like I do? And that's when I realized that doesn't exist in chiropractic coaching. Practice management is already dead. We've been doing the same freaking thing, associating with pain, So we need to do something different. Chiropractic is really self-empowerment. It's really changing belief systems to live lifestyle. Right. And so when you look at the healed system, getting full circle, how do we do that? Man, you got to clear yourself. If you don't clear yourself of your limiting beliefs, you're just projecting that onto your patients that are going to quit.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I mean, if there's one profession that has a lot of limiting beliefs, I would say it's probably chiropractic. So yeah. Because it's funny, like you talk to people, if you talk to a lot of the same, like if you talk to a lot of people that are in the same situation. So like as a chiropractor, you talk to a lot of people that have low back pain or headaches or whatever you help with. You see a lot of the same things. So for you get to see like this wide range of patients, but they all have these like common threads, and the ones that get the best results, those have common threads. And the ones that get no results, those have common threads, right? And so as someone like you that talks to a lot of chiropractors, you see those common threads through chiropractors and the ones that are really successful and the ones that are not. And it's always, a lot of the times it is the limiting beliefs that keeps these, like, it's like this vicious cycle of they have the limiting belief, they try the thing, it doesn't work, and then that reinforces the limiting belief, which makes the next thing less effective and the next thing less effective. And I can always tell, like within the first 5 minutes, like if I'm doing a strategy session on Zoom and the guy's like, talking to a person off camera and he's kind of like drifting, I'm just like, what, you're never going to understand what I'm talking about because you're not paying attention. And I can just tell you just assume it's not going to work because nothing else has worked for you. Whereas the guys that crush it, they assume everything's going to work because everything works for them because they make it work and they think it's going to work.
Yeah, exactly. It's a belief system, right? And it's what they believe in themselves. Right. It's not even about your system. If they love your system and they love you, which obviously you're easy to love, man, and you're freaking brilliant, so your systems work, then they find a way to make it work. And so that's the whole thing, is you're exactly correct, is there's patterns in human behavior. You know, if you talk to 10, 150 people that see 150 a week or 100 a week, you're going to hear the same things. You talk to 10 at 300 a week, you're going to hear different things, but they're still the same as the other 300 a week. You talk to 800 a week, yeah, it's all you hear is inspiration. They don't say anything negative.
Right.
100 a week, they're telling you about all their problems.
I hear you talk a lot about, you know, basically being a self-empowerment coach as a chiropractor for the patients. You know, we've talked a lot on our, you know, we're an accountability group together, and we talk a lot on that, on like how to get the message of you are more powerful out to more people. And, you know, creating those, you know, it's kind of like, you know, with the multi-level marketing companies, when they find out that you're a chiropractor, like everybody who sells Arbonne, just like, if you tell them you're a chiropractor, they'll never leave you alone. Right. And, I feel like with the influence that you have on really successful doctors, because everybody that's in elite is, you know, at a pretty high level of success. If you get them with the you are more powerful and, you know, utilizing the healed system for themselves, then they become, you know, a conduit out to their patients. Because if something's working for you really well, I mean, what better way to help people than to share like what's worked for you, you know?
Yeah, well, first of all, you know, when you come into elite, especially the boot camps, excuse me, there is a lot of spirituality weaved in there. It doesn't matter what religion you are, because we have all religions in there. But what it really is it's not as much spirituality as it is tapping into your innate power and literally having you believe in yourself that, you know, like John Mayer, I'm bigger than my body, right? So you tap into that thing that's bigger. It's bigger than your mind. It's bigger than limiting beliefs. So once you have that conviction, purpose, and philosophy in yourself, that you're here to help humanity, not in knowledge, but actually feeling it in your body, right? Then we teach you how to identify limiting beliefs in other people and how to clear them. You know, when you look at objections, I can't afford it, I don't have time, what's my insurance cover, we don't use credit cards, you know, we could go on and on and on. Those are belief systems. They're not conditions.
Right.
They're belief systems. So once you learn how to clear them and you learn how do those people develop them, as you're learning how to clear them, they're also clearing in yourself.
Right.
And so you bring your team and all of a sudden you have a new team. And it's very common that people go to the boot camps. You know, it's like we're talking about your associate, because you brought your associate in there, right? He's a different person, even though he hasn't followed up on coaching calls yet. His ability to get patients' commitments gone through the roof from just sitting through that experience.
Right. It's because he's more clear. You
Exactly.
know, like it like the boot camp gave him more clarity. And you know, when you're able, what's that?
More power in himself.
Exactly. Right. And that it translates. It's like these people that come into, whether it's my practice or your practice or somebody else's practice, they're all just random people. Like, they all have like the same things. Like everybody's kind of the same, right? Yeah. The fact that someone is able to create a 4,000 a week, an 800 a week, a 300 a week practice means that you can do it. There's nothing about your community. There's you know, like if Clarence Gonstead could make Mount Orab work, you can make whatever town you're in work. You know, they were flying in for that guy.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny because I hear this all the time because I coach people in different countries, and it happens in the United States. Like I'll get, well, you know, Italy's a little different. You know, Argentina, you know, people are different around there. And, you know, I know you're doing human behavior, but in Germany, and I'm like, they're freaking human. Okay. Human behavior is so freaking predictable just because they speak a different language. Yeah, there may be some cultural differences that you can adapt to. And then you're people, well, I'm in Alabama. Okay, maybe I'll give you that one. Maybe that one's a little different. Maybe Arkansas, I don't know. If down in the swamps, it could be, they might be a little different. I'm just teasing.
Right.
But I mean, humans are humans everywhere, man. That's the power of this, is like, there's a finite amount of types of people, a finite amount of type of limiting beliefs. You see the pattern, you break them. I don't care where you are. You can break a pattern, man. Ask Tony Robbins, 15,000 people, all the countries, millions of people across the world are walking across 2,000-degree coals.
Right.
That he doesn't even know who they are, and he's taken across there.
Right. Yeah, I think people just want to be led, no matter what the situation is, whether it's your kids or your staff or your patients. People want to look to a leader. They want to see something bigger, in other people. And if you see someone that's vibrating at a higher level, you're just naturally attracted to them. And if they've got answers that you don't think you have, it's like you're going to listen to them.
Well, and here's the difference, because there's different types of leaders. Like, there can be a leader like a boss that tells people what to do. Well, that's what chiropractic has taught us, to communicate. Tell the principal and throw enough spaghetti on the wall, see how much sticks. As opposed to when you're an influencer, it's more important for you to understand. And so people want a leader. The key is they want a leader who understands them. Your number one patient's desire is to be understood, how they are emotionally. It's not to give them information.
Yeah.
But when they feel understood and they trust you as a leader because your presence has influence, and then your words, add to that influence, they'll follow you like that. They want certainty, they want safety, and they want to be understood.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I would imagine that the first step is really to read the You Are More Powerful Than You Think book, right? If people want to find out more about the system.
Yeah, and that's a very intense book, man. Like, this isn't a book you read. This is a book you study, because you can read a paragraph and then have to contemplate on it or meditate on it for a while. Mm-hmm. Audible is a little easier to listen to. Like, if you do Audible and then you read the book, or you can read the book. I mean, we have a whole system online, you'remorepowerful.com. But so you got to be prepared. This isn't a book that's going to be you pick up and do easy reading. But what I will tell you, from the hundreds of people that have read it, it'll change your life. You will view yourself, your life, your purpose. You will be different when you're done that book. I've had just recently quite a few testimonials where people have read it. They've come with some epiphanies that redefine their past and their life and their purpose. And they're different. Yeah.
So if they did the online course, that's basically just walking them through the healing system itself. So if they read the book and did the online course together, that would be the optimal.
Oh, you're going to get a transformation. I think one thing, and this is a very impromptu question, Nick, because we're on accountability calls. Right. I think, I'm not someone that just takes things lightly. I'm not going to sit there and make a promise and not deliver. If anything, you're like, whoa, turn off the fire hose, man. Right. Like, if we have a relationship, or you involved in anything that I'm doing, you're going to be different when you're done. You're going to be a more clear, powerful version of yourself.
Well, and the thing that I will say, just like, talking through a lot of these things, every week, is that because you're so clear on what it is that you want to do, it's like all of your languaging always is about how to do things at a different level, how to transform the most people, how to give them the biggest transformation. It's not just about like, how do I sell more units of the online course? It's more about like, because like if you transform lives and you transform a lot of them, like the money takes care of itself. But and it's the same way with chiropractic. If you're focused on transforming these people's lives, like the money will come. It's more about what your vision and your purpose is. And I just feel like your vision and purpose is always so clear that you're always trying to add so much value to the You Are More Powerful system.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And, I think let's just look at chiropractic, because this is your primary audience right here. We've been 125 years. Gallup, I think it was 17% of American population went to chiropractors. 70% still think it's about back pain. 125 years, 4.2% know it's a healthcare lifestyle. we're blowing it, man. And you know what? If we're on the face of this earth right now in this body, we want to see chiropractic and humanity different in our lifetime. So we need to do something different. It's always been a self-empowerment model. Nobody's ever taught it. Nobody's ever put 2 decades into learning it. So I do know the reason you said people and leaders successful is because they know how people work.
Right.
They know how to change their mind. They know how to get them in a lifestyle. And if we can have, at least 20% of the profession doing that, then maybe we can hit the tipping point and actually see chiropractic affect humanity. I was talking to this girl in the gym this morning. She's a dental hygienist. So of course we talk about chiropractic. She goes to the joint. She goes, yeah, that's all I really need. And I'm like, oh man, number one, I'm right in the middle of a heavy leg workout. So, but, and then it's like, that's it. What, WTF, man, when are we going to make a difference as a profession?
Yeah. Just because I look at it every time I talk to you and I just kind of become numb to it, tell people what Mindset Master is.
Well, our boot camps are mindset mastery boot camps. We have the mindset method, and that's how to change people's mindset and lifestyle. We want to end the pain game, move into mindset. And so the identity of our group is #mindset master, because you go through that training, you will be a mindset master, emotionally, spiritually, self-empowerment, and you will see that expressed in your life. Everything in your life will go to the next level, and that is our personal commitment.
That's great. For the podcast listeners, he wears a T-shirt every time I talk to him that says #mindset master. I'd assume you have more than just the one. Like it's multiple.
I do have the one, but I'll tell you now, it's the only shirts I wear because it's the same thing, man. It's like coaching. When I put this on and I look and I see it, right, I get into that state. So this is what I work in my house every day.
It's your uniform. I love it.
Yeah.
So the just real quick on the so the online course, the best place to buy the book is going to be Amazon, I would imagine.
Yeah, you can go to 𝗷𝗄𝑚orePowerful.com.
Oh, you can get it there. Okay.
There's a book, the online system, the whole deal. Just go take a look at it, man. Hey, if you have any questions, just call me. You can email me, Dr. Fred, 𝗷𝗄𝗏1, the number 1 at MSN.com, or just call me, 949-791-2986, because I would love to just have a relationship with you. You don't have to do anything. But if we can have a relationship, so when I run into you at Cal Jam or wherever we are, then and give you a hug, and hey, if we can, be together and make a difference and help raise both of us up, then the world is a better place, and that's why we're here.
Dude, I love that about you, Fred. You're always so accessible and so helpful and giving, and so I hope that your phone gets blown up over the next couple of weeks after this gets posted. So.
Thanks, man.
All right, sir. Well, if you want to find out more about the You Are More Powerful Than You Think book and the Healed System and the online course, go to youaremorepowerful.com. And Fred, any parting words for our friends?
Well, we're here for a big purpose, man. It's there's boatloads of research. So the people that have a spiritual foundation, that are living their purpose, they're the healthiest, the happiest, the most joyful. They live the longest. And as long as we're here, then let's make a difference. That's it. Let's let the world be different because we lived.
I agree. Well, the world is definitely going to be different because you lived, Fred. So your grandfather and his white tea is going to be proud of you. So
yeah.
Cool. All right, sir. All right. Well, we'll see you guys on the next episode. Talk to you soon.